All right.
All
Hi,
right,
everybody.
everyone. This is John. This is Christen Adolfi with Lost World Museum. And we just got done premiering the video Zone X, Peru. And it's interesting because we weren't even planning on going to Zone X. We were at Sacsayhuaman. We went through the tour. We met up with some people. We showed them who we were. We showed them a couple of TikTok videos, and they laughed, and it broke some ice.
People loved what we were doing when they found out, and so they were often offering us opportunities that were, unexpected. So this was going to be cramming it in literally the couple of hours before we went to the airport to fly back to Lima. But we decided we would take advantage of this, and so that's why you see us lugging around suitcases and backpacks.
Exactly.
Through the ruins.
So for the next few minutes, we'll try to answer a few of your questions. Hello, everyone. I'm glad you're here. We want to talk about some of the things, show you some slides, and some of which maybe you saw either too quickly in the video or requires further explanation. So that's what we're going to be doing.
Okay, and if you got comments or questions, feel free to post those too.
So our first slide is myself with a measuring stick at Sacsayhuaman. And that was one huge, that's probably like, 12, 14 feet tall, one of the larger stones. And we got a chance to see this incredible fortress. And then when we came back the second time, right, is when we were able to go to the Zone X. And so there's a picture of us spanning one of the larger rocks there. I think that's the second largest one there. I don't know, it's a couple 100 tons.
When I went up to the quarry for Ollantaytambo, my guide tried pushing or moving, and the stone couldn't have been more than 2 feet long by maybe 18 inches tall and 18 inches deep. He couldn't push it rock in any way. He picked up one that was about 18 inches long and about that, maybe 5-6 inches, and it was still heavy, but he was able to pick that up. You look at some of the stones like this and ask yourself, how were they moving stuff like this?
Exactly.
But even more importantly, how are they getting, therefore, all the different sides of it to butt up so close that you can't get 0.09 millimeters, right? 9/100ths of a millimeter.
Yeah, I had a little spacer that I put in between the rocks, and I couldn't get 9/100ths of a millimeter between the two rocks at Machu Picchu.
And again, if all you had to do was make sure the very front edge of those rocks looked pretty and fit that close, and the rest of it didn't matter, okay, great. You go chip away with your stone and your heart's content until you get that to butt up like that. But when that stone has to, those ones in Cusco, the guides around the Cusco Palace said they're 7 feet deep. So literally, you have to get that kind of accuracy, 0.09 or 9/100ths of a millimeter, all the way back. So
yeah, somebody
crazy.
was asking who put those stones there. Well, there's where the mystery lies. Because there's a few theories. Everything from aliens to giants to pre-Incas to the Incas themselves. So it's when we ask the people, typically, for the most part, I got the impression that it was 50-50. Incas.
I don't know that it was 50-50. I would say the majority of them will tell you it's the Incas. But they'll talk out both sides of their mouth sometimes because they do have other beliefs on it. Some of the guides straight up told us it was a megalithic culture before the Inca that they feel was worldwide. There was a guide in Ollantaytambo that took me around the ruins, and he specifically said they had technology. They were about 3,000 or 4,000 years ago, and it was worldwide, and he had all kinds of information, in his opinion, on why. In fact, he took me, in upcoming videos, you will see some of the cut marks in Ollantaytambo that he took me to, and most people don't get a chance to see those.
And it's interesting is there was one guide there, very understated, very quiet, and almost intimidating when you didn't know him. We got to know him because he's one of the ones that gave us that private tour. But he was convinced after 25 years of working as a park attendant, I'm sure talking to all sorts of people, above him, below him, on the side of him, scientists, enthusiasts, Americans, whoever. He believes aliens did it. I mean, that's how extraordinary these rocks are. People take it for granted, thinking that somehow with enough manpower, enough ropes, and enough, time, you can smash these rocks to form these.
And that's why we wanted to do the video that we released tonight, but also to dig in a little bit deeper. We're going to show you a few more pictures here because this is the one overlooked point. I think everybody says, "Oh yeah, they were chipping them with stones," and they show you pictures, like all the guides that are around the Cusco Palace. They showed us pictures of rocks that they said were 70% metal, and so they had some kind of harder than normal rock that they were using to chip it out. But the rocks they were using were round. You can't chip these kind of angles
unless they had some kind of chisel, but they didn't really. I don't know. It's really interesting, and it's not as cut and dry as you think. I think that's the whole point. Hey, you ready to go caving? Yeah. All right, we're going to go caving. Here we are. So we went to, there we go. So we went to, sorry, honey, I'm cutting you out here.
I don't care.
I'll put it over me.
I don't mind.
So there's our suitcases.
Oh my
because we were going to the airport. And this was one more stop before we went, and so they're carrying our suitcases. I would, but we were up 13,000 feet. I was completely out of breath. It was hard to acclimate.
About 12,000, but it's tough. It's really tough to breathe at that altitude.
Yeah. So anyways, as we got deeper into the cave, this is what it looked like. It was kind of like Indiana Jones kind of stuff.
It was great. It was a lot of fun. The caves were interesting, but it really ultimately wasn't what captured our attention. But I do want to put up another picture of the caves, because here's those cut marks again. And if you see on the one side, there's just like a rounded part, and then on the other side, it's really quite angular. Now, again, if you were trying to just widen the tunnel out a little bit so you can make sure that you can get your things in and out of the cave, that'd be one thing. But why bother making such a beautiful corner side on one of it and then round on the other? Was somebody got bored and spent a little bit more time chipping out an angled side on the one side? It just makes sense.
One of the things that we learned there, and I'd heard a little bit about that, was the idea of softening stone. And you want to describe what this is right here?
Okay, so the guides would tell us that they had the ability to soften stone, and they pointed out places where the material that was put on the stones to soften it had been left there and had sunk down in deeper. And they said that somebody had made a snake here, and that's what it looks like. But basically, they just left that material, and it just ate away more at the stone.
Somebody was saying that doesn't look like a rock that did that, a pounding. What's interesting is, and I didn't know this either, when you use a rock to cut or fashion another rock, it doesn't cut it like a saw. It crushes it. It crushes the crystals or chips it, And that's not the only way to cut a rock, obviously. There's other ways, putting wedges in and water and wood and try to, get it to split and whatnot. But when you even if you split it, you got to still fashion it. Think about the 13 angled stone, show them the picture of that again, Christen. The 13 angled stone in Cusco. That's just an artist rendering of it, but 13 angles, and the rock goes back 7 feet. 7 feet. Into the wall. So
one of the things that they have, learned, like if you dig into the walls at Saksay Woman, for example, those stones aren't, like that all the way back. They'll taper some, and so they're not necessarily all the way connected all the way back. But there are places in Peru where they are. And like our video last week, there is no angle at which you could have pushed that in the Temple of the Moon up on Huayna Picchu that towers over Machu Picchu. Look at that video we did, because there is no angle that you could have pushed that rock in from. You would have had to have that soft in order to get that into place. Unbelievable precision.
All right, here's another example of softening of stone.
Yeah, you can see the scoop marks. Sometimes they go I would say most times they go vertical. There are times when they were horizontal, but they're very, very clear, and they're in every ruin.
Let's take one more look at them. These were all over the place, and they said that they were softening stone. So
Yeah, it in one sense it does look like concrete, but it's not. They told us some of them were andesite, some of them there was granite, a rose granite with some of the big ones in Ollantaytambo. So various types of rocks.
all right. So there you go. This is Zone X. This is where we were. They took us. Now, as you saw from the video, if those of you that watched it just a few minutes ago, Christen was saying that everything looks so random. It almost looks like they're
Bored.
almost looks like they're quarrying, rocks from this area. But
if that's
that right there is actually a seat.
That's what. Okay, let me ask you guys what your opinion is. Look at those cuts. If you were trying to quarry a rock and you wanted a nice big rectangular one, if you notice, you're gonna end up with it angled on one side because they're not cutting down deep enough into the rock to end up with a full rectangular rock. They're gonna end up with a triangle. So heaven only knows what they were doing with this stuff. It literally looks like some teenager had the ability to do this and just went around having fun.
It's true. Look, here's something called the weird stairs. It's off in the distance there. Do you see that?
Okay, so this guide had just got through telling us that we had just walked up some stairs that he said were from giants. It's evidence that there were giants, and they were bigger than normal. We had to step up like a couple of feet to get on each one of them. So we come around the corner, and then he says, this staircase, this is a staircase. And I said to him, well, but the staircase isn't wide enough for a human being to walk on, much less a giant. And he didn't know how to answer that, and we'll show you another couple of pictures.
Here's another one.
There's the top of it, and it's only maybe, 15 inches across in places. I wouldn't even say 18 inches.
Eileen said maybe it was practice. That's a good point, But man, think about this. Think about practice. Practice what? If they had a chainsaw for rock, I get the practice thing. But when you have a round rock and you're going to be pounding and crushing.
And again, you got to grow all your own food, weed all your gardens, tend to all the animals, spin all your own yarn, make all your own clothing. I mean, you're doing everything from scratch every single day. Wash all your own clothes. It's crazy.
You want to see some more weird stairs? Here we go.
Yeah, so here's the bottom part of it. Show them the next one, though. There's the other side. So, like he said, the rock had split open. So if that rock had been back together, again, you wouldn't have had more than 15 inches or 18 at the very, very most. So, and the stairway went from nowhere to nowhere. What's the point?
Like Eileen was saying, it looks like they're practicing.
Practice makes perfect.
But again, the point is that practicing with an impossible task of fashioning these things in a shape that looks very, practical, usable, and aesthetically pleasing, and sharp corners and stuff.
It's maddening in the sense that it's tantalizing to wonder what they were doing and not be able to come up with an answer. I just think that they had the ability to soften stone so this wasn't being chipped out. And so, I don't know, where they just, softening it and then going scoop, 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 or don't know.
Exactly. So why don't we go ahead and leave them? We're going to
We got a couple more at the bottom, random.
Yep, that's the last one. In one of our upcoming videos, Christen, tell everyone what this is.
This is, there's a lot of temples of the moon in Peru, but this one is the one near Sacsayhuaman, and that's the kind of the entrance to it. And so that's more the examples of random cuts, and we're going to get into vitrification, or it looks like some of the stone was polished. We're going to get into some of those issues.
All right, guys and gals, thank you for joining us for our chat here after our premiere on Zone X Peru. And
I agree with you, Sunita.
And we want to thank you. We're going to end now, and we'll see you on our next premiere and our next YouTube Live. Thanks for joining us.